Good evening, everyone. It is Julie Hedges here, and welcome to Cosmic Conversations with Julie Hedges. Oh, it's so wonderful to be here. I'm so glad to be back with you after a hiatus last month with some technical difficulties, and I must say, a big thank you, shout out, thank you to Rob Coulter, who really helped me big time get all of my technical um, concerns taken care of and all of the technical things all worked out. I'm on a laptop now, and so got that working out, I hope. And the lighting as it's supposed to be, and this camera is supposed to work, and the sound and everything. So I want to welcome you to coming on board here tonight for Cosmic Conversations. And just want to ask you out there in the community, in the Star Nations community, how are you feeling? What's going on in your world, in your heart, in your mind? I know what's going on out there, but what's going on in here? So as you're coming into the chat room, more people are filing in, and Neshi's here. Hi, thanks Neshi for stopping by. Check in tonight. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me how we as a community can help with balancing and centering and just protecting ourselves. So thank you for sharing your evening, and I appreciate you stopping by. So we've got some folks already here. Let me give some shout outs here. So Neshi's here. Thank you, Neshi. I appreciate that. Looking and sounding great. I have to give that all to Rob. He's really helped get that all lined out for me. So I appreciate that so much. And Rob is saying that he's feeling overwhelmed and busy. I appreciate you taking your time out of your very busy schedule to help me, especially with the production side of things. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it so much. And here is my friend Casey. Hi, Casey. I'm so glad you stopped by for a Cosmic Conversation this evening. Casey is one of my new friends. She came to my Akashic Records class and it just was mind-blowing. So I loved all of that. And Neshi is saying, loving and sharing the show. So yes, I invite you, if it's on your heart tonight, to go ahead and just share this show out on your timeline or in groups that you're affiliated with that allow live streams. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to pull up the show on my feed here, and I'm going to share it out and sharing it to my tarot journey page, because quite a bit of folks like to tune in on the tarot journey page as well. Tonight is a very special episode of Cosmic Conversations, and Rob's saying, already loved and shared. Thank you. Cooking knockwurst and spätzle. Yummy. And Judy is stopping by to say hello. Hello, I'm so glad that you are here. So as more people are joining in tonight, I just want to say this show tonight is for you. Just the idea behind the show, the inspiration for the show, we kind of like to share that here on Star Nations. Like, where did you come up with this topic, or what brought you that? And honestly, I'm sharing this tonight because I need it too. sacred sounds for sensitive souls. I know what's going on out there. Hear it on the news, see it on my news feed, and I tune in a little bit just to pick up a little bit of information, and then I just shut it off so that I can focus on myself and keeping my own balance. But tonight, this show is Sacred Sound for the Sensitive Soul, calling upon the gifts that I was given from Spirit to share out in the world, and because I need it for my own balance. And I'm hoping that me sharing these gifts might uplift you and soothe your own soul. So please understand that tonight we've got sacred sound. I brought along some instruments. I brought along my drum. I brought along my tinctures. I hope you can hear those. So we got some sacred sounds, and also I will be using my voice. I will be sharing sacred prayers this evening. And yes, some of those prayers have a melody with them. But please know that this is not a performance by any means. This is me sharing prayers from my heart and asking if you would pray along with me. And if you know those prayers, pray them out loud. But definitely, if you would pray along in your heart, pray along in your body, pray along in your emotions, pray along in your spirit, I would greatly appreciate that. And as more people come in, we just sharing that love, sharing that sacredness. And let's see here. Carol has stopped by, and Carol has said, I'm here too in quarantine in Illinois. Yeah. See, we've got some challenging things going on. Judy saying, yes, we have to keep ourselves grounded. You betcha. Hello, Lisa's on here. Hello, hello. Thank you for stopping by. So I want to get started tonight by setting a sacred space, setting a container for these prayers that we are going to pray together. And I've brought along my sacred drum, and I want to show you my drum. This is my, whoops, I'm going to try to get into the camera here. This is my buffalo drum. It's a 15-inch buffalo drum. It was born on May 18th, 2018. And our own Neshi Lokotz is the one who birthed it for me. So she is a sacred drum maker, and she created this drum for me in a very, very sacred way. So this drum was made with prayers, and this is my main healing drum that I use to pray in a sacred manner. And it has such a rich sound. Now that may not pick up so clearly as it does on my end, but just to envision it being drummed within your own body. The drum is that mimic of the sacred heartbeat of Grandmother Earth. And so when I use my drum for healing and for sacred sound, I do offer sessions for sacred sound healing. It is to help remind us to get our bodies aligned with Grandmother Earth, with Mother Earth. I just love this drum, love this drum. And tonight, to set the sacred space, I am going to use a prayer that I've not shared before here. I'm going to pray in the 7 directions Those would be the north, south, east, and the west, inviting the four elements of air, fire, water, and earth, and also above and below and in between. That realm of our spirit connecting to the great spirit. I need a drink here first. And the prayer that I'm going to share tonight from my heart to create that sacred container, the words are in the ancient Sanskrit, and they are Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And it's okay if you don't know them. But that prayer simply means the honoring of the divine within, the divine light, the divine spirit. So when I'm praying those words in a different language, my heart and my soul are honoring that divine light within. So as I'm praying that in the 7 directions, I'm going to pray that phrase 7 times. I am honoring the light within as I'm asking those 7 directions to be with us tonight, creating that sacred container, creating that sacred place where we can pray together. So if you would join me in your heart, I'm going to actually go under here, and I'm going to just drum very lightly as I'm praying that prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Vasudevaya. Creating that sacred container. So I can just feel that prayer as I prayed it tonight. I hope you can feel it too. Tonight, as I'm praying some of these prayers, there are different traditions that I'm using. And what I want to be very clear about is the language of the prayer might be in English, or in this case, it was in Sanskrit. The rest of my prayers are in English. And so the actual words of the prayers might have some different connotations. But where there is the word God, we can think of spirit or universe or Buddha or Yeshua or Allah or Archangel Michael or Mother Mary or all that is or creator. So whatever that language is for that divine presence that you feel comfortable connecting with in your heart and in your personal practice, I invite you to think of it that way. So the words of the prayer that I'm sharing might be a little bit different than your own practice, but I'm sharing it from my heart and my soul, and I'm hoping that it connects with your heart and your soul, whatever your practice, whatever way that you connect with that mighty energy, that divine energy, because tonight it's all about uplifting the soul. We know what's going on out there. And as I started the show, I was asking all of you, how are you feeling? And Rob shared that he was overwhelmed and busy. And someone else shared that they're in quarantine, so we've got all kinds of things going on out there. This prayer time, this sacred sound is to support you in the best way that I know how. She's saying that's a beautiful drum and prayer. Thank you. Thank you. Judy says, wonderful. Thank you. Rob says, yes. Now, I apologize if I'm not getting to your comment right away. I think there might be a delay on my feed here on what I can actually see and how far I can scroll down. This next prayer is about surrendering. And I'm just going to share a little personal story about that. I have been going through a deep healing for about 2 years now, about 3 years now, actually. And over the summer, I was at a place where my spiritual team was asking me to really look at surrendering. And in my humanness, in my human self, I was like, surrendering is just like throwing your hands up and giving up. It's a cowardly way out, is what my ego was saying to me. And I was kind of digging in and white knuckling. It's like, I'm not going to surrender. I'm going to keep on pushing through. And honestly, that pushing through is exactly what kept me spinning in the same place of frustration and hurt and all of that. And if I had just allowed my spiritual team to minister me and say, just lay it down, just surrender it. You don't have to keep fighting. You don't have to keep running on that treadmill. You're not going anyplace. But I struggled. I struggled with the whole idea of surrender until I came by this prayer. And I think this prayer is very timely for right now because we are experiencing something that most of us have never experienced before. I don't recall ever in my life having something out there in the world that was so immediate for me and my personal circumstances. And I'm really focusing on my work of being balanced, but at the same time, white knuckling it is not going to help me, and it's not going to help spread the light around. I need to keep hydrated tonight to share these prayers. So this prayer is about surrender. And I've brought along with me my tinctures. And if you don't know what those are, these are little chimes, little bells. These are inscribed with Tibetan symbols. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, which is a prayer. So it's the Tibetan symbols of those. I'm going to show you this one again. But it makes this lovely chime sound. And chimes are a wonderful way to clear the space, to lift the vibration, to just kind of bring joy. So as I'm praying this, and as the tingshas are adding their little joy, I'm going to ask you to feel how you experience the meaning of surrender. What does it mean for you? And when I share about surrender, where does that resonate in your body? How does your mind register it? What does your emotional reaction have for surrender? So as I'm praying that, think about that if you would. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fears that block my way. Every step I take is taken in pure faith. And I am stronger every moment, every day. My mind is willing and my heart is open wide. I trust my instincts and let spirit be my guide. I vow to live a life that's real and true and free. As I continue walking through this mystery, there may be walls or maybe roadblocks in my way, but I can choose to take the higher path each day. And now I know that what I thought was safe and sound was only heartache and regret that brought me down. Whoa, 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 whoa. I will surrender to my greatest, highest good. I will release any fear that blocks my way. Every step I take is taken in pure faith. And I am stronger every moment, every day. And I'm more loving every moment, every day. And I am peaceful every moment, every day. And I surrender every moment, every day. Carol's saying she's fine. She's sharing resources for people home with kids who are usually in school. Good communication, and she's feeling at peace. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And Judy is saying she's letting go of worries in her stomach area. Good, good, good. I love that. Casey says she's surrendering, not living in fear. And she feels it in her heart. That's awesome. That's awesome. Carol says she's soothing and full of hope. You are welcome. You are welcome. And Casey says, so much love in that song. Thank you. You are welcome. When I heard that song, it completely, Lisa says, calming. Thank you. It completely did a 180 in my mind. Has that ever happened to you that you've got something going on that you're kind of in a track or in a, you're just kind of going along in one way, and then you have a message or an experience and it just stops you in your tracks, and you kind of break open like an egg, like, oh, I didn't know that I could think of it that way. That's what that prayer is about for me, that song, I will surrender, surrendering to my greatest, highest good. So out of what we're experiencing now, if I surrender to it, if we surrender to it, how is it for my greatest and highest good? How is it for our greatest and highest good? That's something to think about. Something to think about. Now, with all of that is going on out there in the world today, right now, we've seen on the news about how people are acting out in public. The news is doing a good job of kind of stirring things up. And it feels like a storm brewing out there sometimes, right? Calamity, turmoil, just these winds rocking our boat back and forth and blowing the sails and all of those sorts of things. And I'm not saying that there's not cause for concern, but I am saying that I'm going to do what I need to do for myself to be balanced. But this situation reminds me of a story from my childhood. I grew up in the Christian church, going to Bible school and vacation Bible school in the summertime and Sunday school every week and youth group and all of those sorts of things. And we learned the Bible verses. And then as I grew up, my path changed and I was interested in other philosophies and spiritual concepts. And I have done a lot of reading and done a lot of that, exploring other spiritual principles and practices. And what I find is now that I've explored some of those other ways, these stories that I grew up on have a deeper context now. They have a more full view in my spirit and in my soul. So the way I'm sharing these stories tonight is not to try to change anyone's personal path or dynamic, but just sharing from my own personal viewpoint of how I view them now versus how I used to view them. So one story that really was put on my heart to work with tonight is that story about Jesus and the boat and walking on water. I grew up hearing that, oh, Jesus walked on the water. His disciples, he sent them on in a boat and they went across the big lake and Jesus went off to pray. And then sometime in the middle of the night, when the boat was way, way far off of shore, and the winds were rocking and the waves were, waving. And So the disciples look out the boat and they see, it looks like this apparition is walking toward them, and they were afraid. And Jesus says, hey guys, don't have a freak out party. It's just me. And they were surprised, because how is Jesus walking on the water, not floating above it, but walking on the water? So one of the disciples, I don't remember who it was, but said, if it's said to Jesus, Jesus, if that's really you walking on the water, then invite me to come out and let me walk on the water with you. And so the story goes that Jesus said, come on, I gotcha. And so this disciple stepped out of the boat onto the waves and was just completely amazed, just like Jesus, I'm walking on the water. But then, here comes a big wave and the wind's blowing pretty strong, and he can look behind him and see the boat rocking and everybody hanging on for dear life. And when he looked around and he looked at the waves and looked at the water, he started sinking down and getting wet. And so he said, help, help, Jesus, save me, save me. And so Jesus grabbed him and pulled him back up and said, oh, you have little faith. And then he grabbed him and they got on board of the boat. And so there's a story about walking on water. And when I was little, of course, I thought that literally meant walking on water. But now that I'm older, I have a different take on that. And it's okay if you have a different viewpoint, but my understanding of that story now really has to do with what we are experiencing now, as in, I think we can agree there are some huge waves out there in the ocean of life. There are winds buffeting us and blowing against our sails, and maybe some of our sails have ripped off the masts. There's a big storm a brewing. But Jesus walked on the water, and he was not blown around by the storm. He wasn't drowned by the waves. How did he do that? And what I think now, as I'm older, as I understand different stories of a similar kind, that it's all about the inner balance. But yeah, stuff is going to happen. And sometimes we might get doused with a wave. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Other people might even douse us with one of their waves. But I think it's about the inner balance and the inner calm, so that the storms of life can be out there, but we don't have to get knocked down by them. And we don't have to feel like we're going to drown if a wave gets us a little bit wet. And we don't have to feel like we're going to capsize if we have a strong wind that comes our way. So this prayer that I'm going to share is one that's from my childhood as well. But I think it's good for even these times. And it is about the water. It's about having peace and joy and love. And maybe you have learned this one too. So I invite you to pray it in your own heart. And if you know it and you feel comfortable, pray it out loud with me. I bet a lot of you do. If you went to Sunday school like me, I think a lot of you will know this prayer. So I invite you to pray it along with me. And that is, I'm going to use my shaker here. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like the ocean. I've got love like the ocean. I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got love like the ocean. I've got love like the ocean. I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Ooh. Carol says, I'm focusing on the stories of kindness and generosity that are being told in the midst of all this doom and gloom. Rob says, gloom, despair, and agony on me. Deep, dark depression, excessive misery. But maybe if we focus on walking on water, being balanced amid the storms. Oh, and he says, Peter sank like a rock. Thank you. I didn't know which disciple that was. Peter sank like a rock. Yeah, as soon as he saw the storms around him, as soon as he got hit by that wave, he started sinking. And I'm going to be very transparent with you. Sometimes we get knocked down by big waves. But I don't have to keep paddling around in it. I can stand up. I can dry myself off. I can rebalance anytime. And one of the ways that I rebalance is by singing prayers, chants, humming, sacred sound, playing my drum, playing my tinctures. I have tuning forks at home. I have a bell that I use for clearing my energy field and clearing spaces. So sacred sound is one of those ways that I do it, definitely. So I want to thank Neshi yesterday for the very special show that she did addressing the things that are going on now. She did a special episode of Communications from Home, and she invited Ed Langman, who is another contributing writer and show host at Star Nations. And he led us in a tapping round, a couple tapping rounds actually, for emotional freedom technique around fear and releasing that fear related to the things that are going on. And it was very, very powerful. So I invite you to take a look at that if you have not had a chance to tune in. And so I again want to thank Neshi and Ed. And this next prayer actually is inspired by Ed's tapping and Neshi's show. So one of the things that Ed shared about his tapping is that right now he knows of a lot of energy workers and practitioners, and particularly Reiki practitioners, who are sending love and healing energy to the planet by envisioning that their hands, activated by Reiki — this is how I activate my Reiki hands. I clap them together and then I activate them like this, get them warmed up. And then imagining that between their hands is the globe, the earth itself. And just imagining that Reiki, like if you were holding the world in your hands, just like this. Like you were holding the world like a baby bird that fell out of its nest that you want to put it back up into the tree, or a baby bunny that's away from its nest, and so you want to protect it from predators. So I invite you, wherever you are, if you feel comfortable, if you are a Reiki practitioner, if you would want to activate your Reiki and go ahead and give some Reiki to the whole world right now. And even if you're not a Reiki practitioner, with your intention, you can use your loving intention to cradle the world, to send the world some loving embrace, some healing, some balance, some clarity, some groundedness and protection. Yeah, for these changing and sensitive times that we are living in. And also sending it for yourself. So if you would want to maybe place your hands like this in front of you, as if you are cradling a baby bird or a baby bunny, or envisioning that the world is sitting in your hands and you're caring for it. You're caring for the world. And I'm going to share this prayer about caring for the world. And the words, the word that I'm using for the divine in this case is he, but it's meant to be not a specific pronoun, but kind of a general he. He can be the creator. He can be the divine. He can represent God or Allah or even Holy Mother Mary, but just asking your heart to listen to the meaning of the prayer rather than the dictionary definition of that word. Okay, so with your hands cupped like this and your intention of sending healing to the world, to uplift the world, offering protection and balance and wholeness and wellness, and just affirming that for yourself and for your friends and your whole community, and just believing he's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the land and the sea in his hands. He's got the land and the sea in his hands. He's got the land and the sea in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the trees and the plants in his hands. He's got the tree and the plants in his hands. He's got the tree and the plants in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the animals and people in his hands. He's got the animals and people In his hands, he's got the animals and people. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the elders and the young ones. In his hands, he's got the elders and the young ones. In his hands, he's got the elders and the young ones. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the jobs and the school kids. In his hands, he's got the jobs and the school kids. In his hands, he's got the jobs and the school kids. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, friend. In his hands, he's got you and me, friend. In his hands, he's got you and me, friend. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. 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 Oh, doesn't that feel good to hold the world in your hands and activate your intention for healing and balance and wellness? And with your hands cupped and you still have your intention out there or your Reiki out there, I invite you to splash that over you, like giving yourself a Reiki bath or an energy bath. Yeah. Like you would splash water on your face, but all over you. Feel that good energy. Does that feel good? Does that feel good? I know some of these are some older songs, if you remember them from your days, if you ever went to Sunday school or vacation Bible school as a youngster. How do you feel now after some balancing sacred prayers and giving yourself that Reiki bath? How are you feeling now? How are you feeling now? I've got one more prayer to share with you. And it's a prayer of faith. It is a prayer that's a statement of, I know things are going on in the world, but I can still trust that everything is working out for my highest good. And it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to trust like that. But I ask you to open your heart and see if you can state with an open heart and a certain heart that it is well in your body, in your heart, in your emotions, in your soul, in your spirit. It is well. That the storms may be out there. Yes, you might get splashed by a wave. You might have some inconveniences. You might get a stubbed toe. There might be some real challenges out there. But you can balance. And it can be well. It is well with my soul. The grand earth has quaked before, moved by the sound of his voice. Seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken from my regard. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me. Far be it from me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And the mountain that's in front of me can be thrown into the midst of the sea. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. And it's well with my soul. It is 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 well with my soul. And through it all, my eyes are on you. And through it all, it is well. And through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me. Is it well with you? Is it well with you? That's another one of those prayers that just kind of stops me in my tracks of, wow, can I really pray that? Can I really say that? Tonight I've been sharing prayers, sacred sounds and sacred prayers for us sensitive souls. And instead of individual readings tonight, I'm going to do a group card draw for us. I've got my cards here. This is a different deck that I have, but these are all of the major arcana cards. These are the soul cards, the ones that speak directly to our walk as souls having a human experience and what our souls are asking us to become and to balance and to shine out into the world. So I'm going to draw a card for all of us for this time and ask if you would meditate on it. Maybe in your dream time, maybe in your own prayer time. I'm shuffling here. But this will be the card for all of us to meditate on and see what the soul message is for balance and centering. And the way it works for me is I shuffle until one pops up, and this one just really popped up. Oh, excellent. And I'm going to show that here. This is the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is all about changing our perspective. The Hanged Man is about surrender. Whoops, let me go over this side. There we go. That's better. The Hangman is the one who hangs upside down. It's suspended animation. He's not able to continue on his journey right yet. He's got some things to take care of, mainly a change of perspective. Have you ever done a handstand or a headstand? The world looks different from upside down. So it's a different perspective. It's like the world turned upside down. What does it look like if it's turned upside down? Have you ever done one of those opposite days where you try to wear, we used to do that in school, have an opposite day where you put your left shoe on your right foot and your right shoe on your left foot, and maybe you wear your pants inside out or backwards where the zippers in the behind of you instead of the front of you. It feels strange, doesn't it? But can you function that way? Maybe not as easily as you normally do, but it's kind of a fun experiment, right? Those themed days that you have at school, we used to when I was younger. Those opposite days. What is it like to be opposite? What is it like to have those times where your perspective is really challenged? What are we there to learn about? And I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to put it up closer to the camera. The Hangman card resonates to the water sign of Pisces and the planet of Neptune. That's about spiritual enlightenment and spiritual maturity. It's about understanding that everything is sacred. Ooh. So I'd say we are really in the time where we're learning about the sacredness in all of the things that we do. Even this time of maybe the backward time where we're in suspended animation, that the normal forward motion that we try to make has to change a little bit. Some of us are not going into our offices or the schools or even the restaurants. So our everyday routine is kind of upside down or on the opposite foot. So how are we moving along in that suspended animation, trying to get a different perspective? And as you know, the tarot in particular is the story of life. It's the hero's journey. So as every hero does, the hero wins the day. He conquers the challenge. But some part of the story, he gets hung up and he has to change his tactic, or he has to overthrow the king or something. So in this part of our story, we are at a place where we've got to change our perspective in order for us to continue on our way. So I invite you to meditate with the Hanged Man as you go through the rest of your week and maybe until the next month. And I appreciate you coming by tonight for this sacred sound session and sharing prayers with me. I offer them from my heart. And I hope that they speak to your souls. We are all sensitive. We are all change makers. We are all the ones who help bring balance in the world. And if we can do more to balance ourselves and nurture ourselves, then we can be more effective in our own lives and help show others, shine our light and show others that it's possible to not drown by the waves that are coming by. It's possible to not be blown completely into the next zip code, even with this big gust of wind that we are experiencing, right? So from my heart to yours, I close with Om Tat Sat. I am that. And I love to say that it means I am that I am. Being very solid in I am a soul having a human experience. I am that. I am a piece of all that is. So, loving all of you. Thank you for stopping by for a cosmic conversation. Om Tat Sat and good night.